Alright, this should be a quick one. It's about how certain rules interpretations get kind of wibbly wobbly, and kind of touching on the I guess it's an adage that specific beats general. I don't know where it's written down, but I always hear people talk about that. How just a specific rule will beat and have a higher weight and be a more important rule than a kind of general rule. And I've got a little example. So in this example, it's a hypothetical PvP situation. A fighter with the sentinel feat, and then a ranger with Zephyr Strike or the new Ashardalon Stride spell, which is really similar. They're a little different, but I'm going to use Ashardalon Stride mainly, but Zephyr Strike has similar properties. So the first thing is that Ashardalon Stride, that's a 3rd level spell, and it gives you an extra 20-foot movement speed. You do fire damage to things you pass by. It's a d6. And the important line that we're concerned with today, you do not provoke attacks of opportunity just when you move. And that's important because a lot of players will see that line and think, oh, it's a free disengage. And mechanically it is. Or at least it gives you the same benefits as a disengage. But it is not the disengage action. Technically, it is just a generic benefit that you get. You are technically not disengaging. So a lot of players will hear that and just equate it to, okay, disengage. It's this, and just lump it into the same thing categorically. Then this fighter with the sentinel feat, as everyone should know, the sentinel feat allows you to take attacks of opportunity against targets that leave your reach, even if they have disengaged. Great. So what that means, not what that means, but so in this scenario, they're in melee range of each other, they're within 5 feet of each other, and it's the ranger's turn. He does a Ashardalon Stride, and he tries to leave. Then the fighter's like, oh, okay, I get my opportunity attack. And then this might cause a bit of not an argument, but a discussion. Because, the one player, it's, oh, I get to attack even though the ranger disengaged. Well, technically, the ranger didn't disengage. He just doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. So it's a different thing. Now, it is perfectly reasonable for a DM to rule, no, you can still take it. That's what Sentinel does. You can, Sentinel's main benefit is that you can't disengage and avoid attacks of opportunity from this character. That's the spirit of the Sentinel feat. That nobody can just get away from you for free. That's the spirit of the feat, but it's not the law of the feat. It's not what is specifically written. So in an adventurers league setting where everything is really strictly rules as written, in this situation, that ranger using a Ashardalon Stride would not provoke attacks of opportunity, even if the target has the Sentinel feat. To my understanding of rules as written. Because, again, this is still open to interpretation to me, because that ranger just doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity, like I've explained, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to explain it a 4th time. But, so, that's how it would happen in a, purely rules as written game. Okay, well, because the Sentinel feat doesn't say that this, only says this, you can only ignore disengage, okay, well, you don't get your attack of opportunity. But in a home game, it probably would. Most DMs, probably including myself, depending on the exact composition of the players and what's exactly going on, he might go you can ignore that because you have Sentinel feat. That's the whole point of your character having that feat. But then in certain cases, like against monsters might ignore that. Monsters might completely ignore those things. And this is why it's also, as an aside, it's kind of weird giving monsters like disengage and dash as a bonus action sometimes, because having a bonus action ability isn't as important to a monster. Like, because they can just have whatever abilities you want. Like, for a player, like choosing to either take the rogue class or multi-class into rogue, that's a really specific choice on the player's part. And it's a sunk opportunity cost, because, okay, if you take a level in rogue, you can't take that level in a different class. You can't get other abilities. Whereas for a monster, the DM just decides, oh yeah, they can just disengage as a bonus action. It's fine. It doesn't feel as... It has the potential to not to be impactful in the wrong way. That's how I'm going to put it. But, yeah, that's just a quick little example of some rules wibbliness. And you tend to see that kind of stuff a lot, because 5e in most of its design is a bit looser. Like, there's not a lot of like category tags and like this specific thing happens, so this happens, so this happens. Like, dominate monster isn't a specific kind of like effect. It's not like you apply the dominated condition to them and they have to listen to you. It's you charm them, and while they're charmed in this way by this particular spell, they have these following properties. That's how most stuff in 5e is written, which has its pros and cons. So you kind of have to get used to like certain kinds of interpretations and being able to just come up with a ruling for that specific situation kind of on the fly. And that's just kind of how it works. And for the most part, like, those rulings are good enough. Like, maybe in that fighter ranger situation, maybe you might rule one day like, yeah, okay, you don't get your attack of opportunity, but then later on after the session you start thinking about it and it's like, no, that's like that whole character's whole thing. They took that feat for a very specific reason, so no, I'm gonna let them have that. But yeah, just some quick thoughts.